Hello, everybody. This is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard. All right, so how do I put into words the things I'm seeing and feeling? So we are in the final battle of perception right now. So what I want you to imagine is that mythology, prophecy, psychic visions, all of these things are people getting access to possible timelines. So, as physics predicts, there are infinite numbers of possible timelines. Listen to my words very carefully. There are infinite numbers of possible timelines. It doesn't necessarily mean that those timelines have to exist. It means that they are potential timelines. So the way that I understand that light works, right? Light is both a particle and a wave and neither. And it acts dependent upon the intention of the observer. And it may be that the intention of the observer only allows the perception of the timeline they are intending. So I want you to think about that for a moment. But when we talk about, say, the New Testament prophecies of the apocalypse, Armageddon, when we look at mythology, specifically on this channel, we talk a lot about Norse mythology. We were talking about Ragnarok last time. And so the Mayan prophecy of 2012 being the end of the world. And looking at all of that, what I want you to imagine is that human beings are like, we have the ability to view the future. We have these technologies within our body that different people with different abilities have the power to manipulate the flow of space and time so that they can view specific timelines. And I also believe that there's technologies out there that have been able to do that. And if you look for it, you will find all kinds of covert military technologies out there that, some people claim can do this. And all of them talk about this shift in 2012. Now, this isn't 2012, right? This is 2021. We're 11 years past 2012. And so what we were told from the Mayan prophecy, or the way the Mayan prophecies were interpreted, was that when we reach 2012, the world will end. So people were expecting cataclysms and, floodings and earthquakes and all that, and none of that really happened. 2012 was pretty uneventful. Unless you look at the world as not being concrete. The world is a projection of perception. And what other people are saying now is that what happened in 2012 is that the world as we knew it, the projection that we were living in, which is the unconscious collective. So everybody has their own projection. You have your own projection of your specific life. For example, I've said this many times, there are people who complain about no matter how hard they try, they can't make any money, they can't be successful, they can't have a relationship, they can't be healthy, and they're constantly complaining about that, and they're constantly projecting and creating what they, their internal experience, their internal fantasy, because that's what's really going on. you have an internal fantasy of reality. And you can choose to indulge in that fantasy or indulge in another fantasy. Of course, your fantasy will be dependent upon your unresolved psychological, past life, emotional issues. So this is why we do the spiritual work and we do the meditation. When you go to therapy, you go to counselors, so that you can clean up the unconscious agendas, the unconscious paradigms. When you clean that up, then you have the ability to create your own fantasy, which I say must be based on what your soul wants. So your soul has a fantasy it wants to experience. And when you clean yourself up of all of your wounds, all of your past life issues, your childhood issues, then you have the ability to tap directly into your soul. You can do it even if you're not perfectly clean, but if you are perfectly clean, there's nothing stopping you between you and tapping into your soul. And your soul says, I want to do this. And you go, okay, I'm going to do that. And then you're able to project that reality into your life. And that's why some people seem to have so much luck and other people seem to not have any luck. It's because their internal projection is creating their immediate external reality. But within that little bubble of our own perception of our external reality, our little bubble is inside a much larger bubble, which is the unconscious collective of the human race. And there was a point in time when human beings didn't share the same unconscious collective. When, thousands and thousands of years ago, when you had isolated pockets of people, they had different ideas. In fact, the word world, right? You think the word world means the physical world. It doesn't. World is a Germanic word, and it means where, or it's translated from two words, wereld, which means man, time. So the world doesn't mean the physical world that you live in. It means your projection. It literally means mankind's projection. It means the unconscious collective projection. And every society and every, like the Roman Empire, the expansion of the Roman Empire was not just a conquest of land. It was a projection of their unconscious collective. Christianity. That's why you have always in history you have conquests, but in terms of the conquest of the New World, you first had priests show up. So what the priests did is they came and they would meet with the indigenous people, and they would destroy their wereld. They would destroy their projection. They would destroy their religion. They would take away their language, and this was a way of destroying people's ability to project their culture, their reality. And everybody's culture and reality has different rules to it. So in the Western world, there's no such thing as magic, right? Science, even, Christian religion, there's no such thing as magic. Superstition is something we don't do here. But when you go to other places in the world, there's really crazy, weird stuff that goes on. They still have practices that do really weird, crazy things, and that's because there's still an aspect of their unconscious collective still exists, which is their definition of reality, their wereld, their world. All right, so you get the concept? So what's happening right now is that we are experiencing the final manifestation of the destruction of our wereld, which happened in 2012. When 2012 hit, the Mayan prophecy of the end of the world did not mean the end of the physical world. It meant the beginning of the dismantling of our collective unconscious projection of reality. And right now we are in a pitch battle. We are in a battle for our perception. And the perception that you have will determine the world that you live in. And there are people, you can call it the elites, you can call it the Illuminati, you can call it, I don't care what you call it. But there is a group of people who throughout history have been seeking to manipulate people's perception of reality so that they could profit. And their goal is control and profit. And right now, what they're seeking to do is they're seeking to take control of the world, and in the process, they want to reduce human population significantly. So by reducing human population, the population that are left in their plan will be dependent upon them, and then they can use the remaining population as labor to create the world that they want. This is reflected in different science fiction. Like, for instance, the Federation, the Star Trek Federation, the United Federation of Planets. And what do? They say there's no money. We've gotten rid of money. We've gotten rid of wealth. There's no poverty. There's no sickness. Science is the savior. Science has figured everything out. And, we don't really go into the lives of these people because, we just see these people on these starships. And so they're in the military. So when you're in the military, you don't own anything. You don't have a house. You've got your quarters. So you've got a bunch of people on the Starship Enterprise running around, and they have quarters. They don't own any money. They don't have any possessions. They're just part of this collective. But we don't hear what was their life before. There's no Star Trek movies where you hear about where do they live? Do they own any property? Do they, none of that. Even if you do, you don't hear them talk about any of that stuff. It's because that is a foreshadowing, that our intuition is expressed through mythology and art and fiction. And our intuition has been telling us that there's going to come a shift. And that shift will, depending on which fantasy you're looking at, the shift will turn into human beings becoming these meta-humans where we start to exhibit powers and abilities and perceptions that go beyond three-dimensional reality. Or we hear about this dystopian horror where, there's all kinds of sci-fi movies where there's this dystopian horror of there's no more democracy, there's no more safety, there's pollution everywhere, and all of that. And then you have the Star Trek type of fantasy of the World Economic Forum, which, shall I play it? So you know what I'm talking about? So I want you to compare, where is it? I want you to compare Star Trek, which has gotten rid of disease, it's gotten rid of money, it's gotten rid of inequality, it's gotten rid of racism, it's gotten rid of poverty, it's gotten rid of all of that, right? And then I want you to watch this if you haven't already seen it. This is a video that was created by the World Economic Forum, and they put it on Twitter, and it was taken down, I think, the next day because people responded so negatively to it that the World Economic Forum went, whoa, we didn't realize people were not going to like this. But, watch this if you haven't already. So let's do that now. Okay, so that could be if we went to the movies, and we were going to watch some futuristic Star Trek movie. That could have been something that was playing on whatever entertainment devices they had, and it is not a prediction. That is their plan. Their plan is to create that. And if you notice, that they're getting rid of superpowers. They're getting rid of capitalism. They're seeking to get rid of the United States, and they're seeking to create this consortium of, nations that come together, which is really corporations. If you noticed, when they talked about getting rid of fossil fuels, they didn't say anything about that fossil fuels will be mandated away, or we will have created new technologies which will replace fossil fuels. They said people will be charged a tax, a global tax, to use fossil fuels. What does that tell you? It means that they're planning to make money off of fossil fuels under the guise of let's get rid of fossil fuels. So they're not against getting rid of fossil fuels, but they're not also trying to replace them with new technology. They just want to charge people money. And so these are the corporations that are using fossil fuels, right? So you see it. This is a takeover of corporations taking over the world. And so these people do exist. And they are aware that the battle is a battle of perception. And right now, we are in a pitched battle for our perception of our world, our world. Again, world doesn't mean the physical ball. It means the projection that creates reality. And we have everything is split in half right now. Society, there's no middle ground for anybody anymore. A while back, about more than, let's say, 6 weeks ago, I was making the case that what we needed to do was fight for this middle ground of perception. I have now come to the conclusion that that doesn't exist. That what we have right now is a battle between a perception of reality that fits into the narrative of the Illuminati or whomever you want, who are seeking to create a world that is their utopia. And their utopia is they need to get rid of a huge chunk of population of the world. They need to centralize control. They want control over all of the resources. And the human beings that are left will, in their minds, they believe they will lull them into a state of complacency by providing them with housing, providing them with goods and services. They won't be allowed to own anything. They won't be allowed to have any power. There won't be any. They will say, under the guise of, we're going to get rid of monopolies. And what they really do is they'll create one giant monopoly. Again, it's just another form of communism. But in order to do that, they have to control your perception. And these people have known. They've known for thousands of years. These people have known that at 2012, the different timelines would converge in such a way that there would only be two ways to go. They knew that the timelines were going to converge in such a way that human beings would begin to evolve. They would begin to evolve beyond their current understanding of reality. If you want to call it the 5D, you can call it the 5D. It's just a word. It doesn't mean anything. Try and find a definition of what 5D consciousness is. You'll get a billion different results. But the bottom line of all of it is that we will move beyond our limited physical understanding of reality. And they've known that when all of the different timelines converged to 2012, that would begin a chain of events. So the world would end there, meaning the where-old, the unconscious projection of the world would then, that would no longer hold together, and it would begin to come apart. And what we're experiencing right now in the world, which, as you know, I can't talk about on this channel, but what we're experiencing right now is these elites are desperate. They are desperate to hold on to control. They are desperate to hold on to the old perception of reality. And so what they are doing is they have introduced challenges and stresses into our reality, which creates such fear within us that then we are able to be manipulated. And so the narrative that the elite are trying to force on people, and they're doing a very good job, by the way. Let me just say, I mean, I myself have just come out of a recent, shaking off of the paradigm, and it's exactly like the Matrix. It's exactly like it. You take the red pill, and all of a sudden reality starts coming in, and your reality completely comes apart, and you wake up in a completely different reality. And that's what it's been like for me. And so that, what has happened to me is happening and has been happening. Some of you are far ahead of me on this. And you've had that awakening. The problem with it is that, unfortunately, not everybody, the shift in thinking does not always accompany the ability of objective critical thinking. So people conflate. They conflate issues. And that's part of the manipulation. The driving force behind all of it is fear. If you are operating from fear, you can be manipulated. I am talking with people, I'm talking with friends, and I spend hours with them. Now that I've had this awareness, I'm spending hours with them just giving them facts. In fact, if you haven't already, go to my other channel, Odyssey. My other channel on Odyssey.com, thunderwizard.com over there, because I'm talking about it openly. Let me just see here. So bear in mind that this is a question and answer. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I welcome you. What I do with these live streams is these are question and answers. So what you'll see here is at some point somebody will write the word question in all caps, and then the rest of their question will just be normal. They do that because I'm not going to look at your comment or your thought or anything like that. But if you have a question, I'm gonna answer your question. A question is, you ask me something you think I know that you don't. The other thing I look for is honest feelings. I'm afraid, I'm angry, I'm scared. Those two things I will address. The rest of it is just noise to me, and I will just pass it by. So if you want to interact with me, the only way that that's going to be done is through asking a question. So if you want to, feel free to do that when you want to. Between now and then, I'm going to cover up the chat so I don't get distracted. All right, so are you following me along so far? So 2012, all of the timelines, the millions and infinite numbers of timelines that were available to human beings start to converge. And they start to converge at 2012. So imagine like energy's going this way, it hits 2012, and then it starts going like this. It refracts, and it starts going in two completely opposite directions. And what the elite want to do, the Illuminati, I swear I don't care what word you use, but it's the same idea. What the Illuminati want to do is they want to control your perception of reality so that they can create the timeline that is a possibility. But what's happening is that the force of evolution is moving towards skewing the energy, so skewing the possibility far more in the favor of your complete transformation into something beyond what you are now. Again, if we know the difference between a human being and a chimpanzee, it's a 1% DNA difference. So the difference between you and a chimpanzee is 1%. So imagine if we just move 0.5%. We evolve, in our awareness, we evolve 0.5%. You want to call that the 5D, I don't care. But then you start to see things completely differently. And it really is, I mean, these movies that have been coming out, because I think, modern day films are our mythology. Comic books, this is modern mythology. In the past, they didn't have movies, they didn't have comic books, they had mythology. And so Ragnarok, for instance, was people's spiritual intuition was showing them what was going to happen. They were showing them the end of the were-old. And it came out in that way. They came up with Ragnarok. Nowadays we have the Matrix movies. We have, there's so many. We could just go, so many movies have been showing us what was coming. And as I said before, the Star Trek version is actually the Illuminati fantasy. Star Trek is what the Illuminatis want to have happen. They want to be able to explore space. They want to have a finite number of humans that they can use for labor. And in their mind, they see you as a pet. They see you as a pet that they love, and they like when you go out to get a pet, right? You don't get 2 cats and then just let them breed and breed and breed and just create, 1,000 unless you're a crazy cat lady. What do? If you get 2 cats, you'll get them spayed and neutered. And then you just keep these 2 cats. Let me see. I just got, somebody gave me a warning about YouTube. Let me see what this is. Because I am interested. Use banning all that spreads. Oh, okay, right. Oh yeah, I already knew that. Thank you. All right, so what was I saying? So Star Trek, this is the Illuminati's desire. So they know they've hit 2012. They know that they've moved beyond. They've moved beyond the old ways. Capitalism, communism, fascism, those don't work anymore. So they've moved beyond that, and they're moving into transhumanism, which is through technology they believe that they can evolve society. But the way that they view you is they view you as a pet. And they will spay you, neuter you, they will euthanize you, because we don't do this with humans. When you have a human, you don't go euthanize a human. You don't go put your grandpa to sleep, right? You let people live out their lives. When we have cats and dogs, what do? We put them to sleep. In fact, people that don't want, if their cat pees all over the apartment or the house, they'll go take them to the vet. And if you tell the vet to kill your pet, the vet will do it. So that's how they view you. So they're going to, right now, what they're doing is they're seeking to reduce the population significantly, because in their mind, they want to have this beautiful world. Like for instance, I'm getting ready to move to Costa Rica. And Costa Rica is a nation that, to my knowledge, doesn't have a military. And it's because they've decided to become an eco-tourist destination. So they get all of their income from ecotourism. And so they work really hard to keep this beautiful, naturey jungle preserve. And, people, it's a giant national park, basically. You get to go and whatever. They see the world as that. And so the world will be chopped up into a bunch of different things. There will be their ecotourism when they want to go on their yachts and go to Costa Rica, or they'll fly their super jets to wherever. They're going to have huge swaths of the world will be farmland for them, and you will work the farmland. That's why they said in that movie, they said there's going to be massive, depopulation. In other words, when they say there's going to be this massive depopulation because of climate change, and they're showing you like the cracked earth. And then they show you that we're going to have to take in all of these refugees. What they're saying is, so we're going to make us all one culture. We're going to take away your specific culture, your ties to whatever land, because the land is ours. And we're going to move you all into big cities, unless you happen to be working our farms, and then you'll be out on the farms. But that's why they're talking about welcoming refugees. So it's not about, the reason why people are so upset about refugees, the Republican right wings, why they're so flipped out about that, and they're expressing it in terms of racism, a lot of them, is that their instinct is correct. Their instinct is that we are being herded together where we lose all of our individuality. In fact, I saw somebody talk about a study that was done about the people who stormed the Capitol. And what they found about the people who stormed the Capitol is that the vast majority of them, something like 90-something%, were white, working class males who lived in cities or neighborhoods that used to be predominantly white, but the white population is shrinking because of refugees and people from other countries and other languages and other religions. So their instinct is right. They are losing their individuality, and they are being forced into this neutral one world, one population. And so even though they're expressing it incorrectly out of their fear and out of their racism, which is again part of the plan, you push everybody to the brink so that the worst comes out in them, and then you get to chop off those pieces. You know, the people who are going to respond out of wanting to preserve their freedoms, even if they respond negatively, like out of ignorance and racism, those are going to be the first people to get culled, because I'm now speaking as though I were an Illuminati. I don't want you to have your own thoughts, your own feelings. Independent thought is frowned upon. So you will now, like QAnon shaman, we're going to put you in prison. Now, of course, he did break the law and all that, and he technically, didn't know what he was doing. His instinct was right, though. His instinct towards the tinfoil hat nonsense of QAnon, his instinct was right. That there's something beyond his ability to understand, that there is a level of power in the world that is trying to take away his individuality and freedom. The reason why the mythology that there is underground bases where half-breed human reptilian politicians are feeding off the blood of babies, and the reality of like the Epsteins in the world who actually do predate on children, is because that comes from somebody, again, now you can combine what I've said before. We're talking about somebody who's uneducated, somebody who is not a critical thinker, who is not an evolved emotionally, psychologically. You give that person a true instinctual understanding of what's happening, and it comes out in all of these really irrational, childish, extreme ways. And that's part of the strategy. The strategy is that we start to squeeze, and the people who are loose cannons, who are not going to knuckle under and be part of it, they will express themselves in irrational ways that we can then gaslight later. So we can gaslight, as I did, we can gaslight QAnon shaman for what he did wrong, and in the meantime we wipe away what he was right about. So this is the version they want to create, and right now there is an active, there's a suppression of knowledge, suppression of information. I can't get into it here on this channel, but as you know, there's censorship on all mainstream media, including Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. And there's isolation. As you know, there are things that are being implemented all over the world which force people to go into isolation, and then they cannot communicate with their friends through social media unless, like right now, I'm doing right now, we cannot communicate to friends or to other people unless we follow accepted topics. If we go out of that, we get censored and shut down. So this is the way to keep people from dissenting. Because if they can communicate, they can get together, they can dissent, they can change things. So they don't want that. So the whole point of all of that is to create this new world. Right? You've heard it, new world order. They're seeking to do that. So that's one timeline that they are seeking to create. But here's what's really going on. They know that they're going to fail. These two different timelines are not equal, meaning that the likelihood of their timeline is very unlikely. I mean, there's a very small percentage that timeline could stick and hold. The largest percentage of likelihood is that human beings are going to become evolved metahumans. And those whose perceptions are shifting, those who are waking up, who are, quote, being red-pilled, those are the people who are starting to begin that process. And like everything else, people start out as infants. And infants are superstitious, and they're emotional, they're irrational, they don't understand things. So we have people who, and I've been experiencing this since I've had this channel, is that people, communicate to me, and they're having these awarenesses and shifts in awarenesses without anybody doing anything. They're not going to a seminar and being educated. They're not going to a church. They're just having sometimes just these spontaneous spiritual experiences, and they don't know how to handle it. And many of them, as I said, are not, emotionally mature. They're not psychologically mature. They're not educated, and so this is why you have all of these, new agey things where people talk about the 5D and all that, and it's just, I can't stand listening to most of it because it's just. But the truth is that their instincts are 100% accurate. And those are the people who are going to make the shift. And I mean, I'm experiencing this. I'm having conversations with people that I've known for years who, if we were to talk about what I'm talking about right now 10 years ago, they would be totally into it. They'd be like, yes, we have to be careful of groupthink, and we have to be careful of the man's going to do this and the man's going to do that, and we, and now they're just fully, completely, totally bought into the narrative. They believe in laws mandating and limiting freedoms for certain peoples, and they just totally believe in the transhumanism that is being given. If you don't know what transhumanism means, it means that instead of spiritual transformation, this is technological transformation. This is what's behind nootropics. You know what that is? There's a bunch of people that think that if they take certain herbs or if they take certain drugs, that it will make their brain go to 100% capacity, and then they'll be able to see the future and the past. And this is, this is transhumanism. They're not understanding that they have these abilities within them. We can call them the dantians, the energy centers. We can call them chakras as well. Those are different, the meridians of the body. These are spiritual nodes within us that are stimulated by spiritual energy, not physical energy. This is what yoga is about. This is what Tai Chi, this is what all of this stuff up here is about. We manipulate the life force energy into our body, which is actually an antenna to shift and transmit these energies. And when you do that, then you start to shift and become, a 5D person. But those that are stuck in the physical, they're going to do it through transhumanism. They're going to do it through chemicals. They're going to do it through technology. This is why we have so many movies about androids. A good series I'm watching again is the later Battlestar Galactica. Where you have humans and then you have these human androids, and the battle between the two, and that is a symbol of the battle between human beings seeking spiritual connection versus people who are trapped in fear and in their lower, baser attachments, and they want to seek technology. They think technology is going to save them. So we're not moving into it. We are in a time of, we live in a technocracy where there aren't any kings, there aren't any presidents, there are technicians, scientists, doctors. They're making all of the, they're making all of the laws that multiple countries are following. There are certain independent organizations that are independent of different nations that are making recommendations right now that entire countries are implementing as law. So by default, there aren't any governments running the world anymore, being run by these elites who want to create that utopia for themselves, and they want you to be their pets. And just like your pet, they're going to, they're going to do all kinds of things to you, just like you do to your pets. They're going to neuter you, spay you. They're going to reduce the population. They're going to breed you. I mean, what do we do with dogs and cats? We breed them. That's what's going to happen to you if you buy into their narrative. So the way out is to focus on changing your perception. And the people that I'm talking to, who are my friends, so we can't avoid but talk about it because my stances have changed dramatically. And they're, right now you have to make a choice. You can't be in the middle anymore. You have to make a choice. In fact, there was a video I made a while back where somebody said to me, "You're going to have to make a choice." And this was before, these recent shifts in policy where you could not choose one way or another. And now you don't have that opportunity. You have to choose one or the other. And so anyway, we don't have that. We don't have independent choice anymore. Freedom is gone. It's not going to be taken away. It's gone. And so those people who buy into the technocracy, who buy into the transhumanism, they feel very safe in that, consciously. And it's all built on assumptions. And the assumptions are that the people giving them the information streams that they're getting, they believe are true, and they believe that the people behind those informations have their best interest at heart. But when you come to the realization that, wait a minute, the powers that be do not have my best interest at heart, I am just a cog in their machine, and I am to be programmed just like a cog in their machine. When you come to that realization, the world literally flips itself over. And then you have a Neo experience where you take the red pill and all reality falls apart and you wake up in a totally different reality. But what is coming that the elites don't know, I mean, they do know, but they can't stop. What is coming that the elites cannot stop is that human evolution, spiritual evolution will win out. And along the way, what is happening is, here, let me give you now let's step back another layer. So the layer I'm talking about is, let's imagine, an energy field around the earth itself. And within that energy field, there are two where-olds, there are two worlds colliding right now. And there is a battle, literally a battle of perception. And that perception will determine what the where-old is, or the world that we live in. On top of that, so we can look at that, and on one side there is the elites who are trying to dictate the awareness and perception of people so that they can then use your compliance to create their vision of where they want this timeline to go. And in their vision of this timeline, they create the Star Trek Federation of Planets where nobody owns anything. Nobody has any power. Nobody has any individuality. Everybody's happy. Everybody is, has their niche, and they have their little cocoon that they go to, and they're woken up, and things are delivered to you by drone, which means, guess what else? It comes to you by drone. The drones come and they give you your food, and they give you your whatever it is that, that makes you happy. But they also show up with guns, and they show up with other things to, force you to do things that you may not want to do. Right? So that's their world that they're seeking to create. And the other one is coming from the realm of the spiritual. And the spiritual cannot be controlled, and it cannot be predicted. So the one thing that the elites cannot do is they cannot predict where spirit is going to pop up. Just like in the Matrix, Neo pops up out of nowhere, and they're looking, where's the one, where's he going to come from, and we got to find him and stop him, and he shows up, and bump, 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 like popcorn, people start waking up and being pulled out of the Matrix, and then there's this battle, right? So that's what's happening, but when we step back even further from there is another battle going on an even grander scale, in dimensions beyond human perception. And what is happening there is that the spiritual powers that seek to bring human beings to that next level, they are using, I want you to listen to what I'm saying, they are, better way to describe it is that they are allowing, if you want to call them the gods, let's use that. The gods are allowing the human elite, you want to call them reptilians, that's fine if that helps you see them. We'll use that term, we'll call them reptilians. The gods are allowing the reptilians to put pressure on human beings through their transhumanism agenda. So through technology, all of that stuff, being implanted with things, all of that, monitoring your information, censoring information, squishing any original or independent thought. The gods are allowing the reptilians to do this because the pressure of that is what's waking people up. That's what worked with me. When the pressure finally got to me, and I felt the pressure to choose between freedom or transhumanism, the pressure popped me open. In fact, today is probably the first semi-normal day I've had. I have been in hell for the past 6 weeks. I have not been, it's been horrible. Horrible. So I don't know how I'm going to feel later on today, but right now I feel all right. But it's because I became aware that, I was getting all bent out of shape over all of the, the horrors that I'm seeing that are being forced upon people. And, all of the, the elite ways of but successfully eliminating the population. And it was driving me crazy because I didn't know what I could do to stop it, what I could do to help. Until I backed up and I realized that this is being allowed, that the gods are allowing this, because that pressure is actually forcing people to unplug. Because now you have a choice. You got to either plug in or unplug. Those are the only two choices that we have. There is no middle ground here. And that's because if you imagine you're in a simulated bridge, like you're in a simulated world and you're walking on a bridge, okay? And the bridge is going from two different cities over body of water. Okay, got that in your mind? Imagine that you are a simulated person in the 3D, virtual reality world, and you're walking along this 3D bridge. And you're going from one city to another, and all of a sudden, whoever is running the 3D program starts to dismantle the program. So imagine that that city you just came from just disappears, and the bridge that you're on starts to, defractalize behind you, and you have to run to get to the other side. That's what's happening. Is that by the gods allowing the reptilians to put pressure on and seemingly have success in their transhumanism agenda, it forces those who are on the verge of evolution to wake up. And they have to run across the bridge. And your whole reality just comes crashing down. And what is going to happen is that the transhumanism agendas that they have, their technology is not going to do what they want. With the way that they planned it out, they've sat around with their scientists and their doctors and their technicians, and they've said, here's how we're going to program society, here's how we're going to use technology and medicine and other things to change people and to change the world, and it's going to go, and they planned it out on paper. A plus B plus C, we've done the calculations, we've ran it through the computers, we've done our evil, spiritual look into the future, and we've seen how this is how it's going to work. But those plans won't work. And you're seeing this now because people are far more wise to what they're doing than what they had hoped. No matter how hard they try to control information, no matter how hard they try to isolate people, no matter how hard they try and prevent people from communicating, they're unable to their own scientific technological creations are running amok. They're doing their thing. Their AI thing is happening. It's not following the protocol that they had laid out. It's happening too fast. There are too many variables, and so it's like a glitch in the matrix. Neo's there, and the cat comes by, and then the matrix glitches, and the cat comes by again. He goes, deja vu, and they go, what? That's what's happening. The glitches in the matrix, people are waking up and seeing the glitches, and that's because their technology, which they have forced onto the world too fast, too powerfully, too much at one time, it was too much of an overreach, and so the whole matrix is glitching, and people are waking up. Wait, whoa, what's going on? And so they're desperate now. So they're desperately, this is why you have all of these now. This is why you have in us. I just want you to let's just think about this for a second. Anybody who knows anything about Australia, if you're an Australian or if you've lived in Australia, when I got here, it was a utopia for me, because everybody was actually quite friendly. And everybody is actually very cooperative. It's a very cooperative society. It's a democracy. It's a republic, and the working class here. The working class in the States is different because the United States is based on slavery and racism. That's been there from the beginning. So the working class has always been the slave class. It's always been, foreigners, non-white people, and white people usually end up not in the working class. And if they are in the working class, they're usually pretty pissed off about it. So the working class in the United States is usually not very happy. They don't like their jobs. They, if you go into a store somewhere, whoever is at the counter doesn't want to help you. You go to the DMV and they're just like, I don't have time. I got to go on break. And they're usually non-white people. They're the lower class. And that's not the same here. Here, it's very monochromatic, right? And the working class here gets paid differently. They get better wages. People who work in restaurants don't get tipped because they make better wages. They don't need your tip. And so they like their jobs. They like being tradies. They like they're proud of the work that they do. They're proud that they build this and they do that. They like their lifestyle. It was a complete shift to me. I was like, my God, these people are happy with their jobs. And so the point is, when you see those people marching in downtown Brisbane and being chased after by cops in riot gear with tanks and shooting rubber bullets at people and tackling them to the ground, and whole big walls of Australian working class people flipping off the cops, that is not the norm here. That's not how this society normally goes. This isn't some third world country. This isn't a banana republic. This isn't Black Lives Matter or anything like that. This means that the people in power, the elites, are desperate. And they are pushing way too hard. And it's not working. So the gods are allowing this pressure to wake people up. And so even though the elites know that they've got a 20% chance of getting their timeline to manifest, the 80% is going in the other direction. So the answer to all of this is to speed things up. Because if you do not, the bridge behind you, the virtual reality bridge that you're running on is going to disintegrate and catch up with you, and you're going to fall in the ocean. So we have technologies, spiritual technologies, to speed this up. I'm not the only person out there doing it. If you are new to my channel, I recommend you do these two things. Go on to YouTube and just simply search for Hool Breath, and then you can do Thor's Belt, which is on my channel. Don't search for that on YouTube, search for that on my channel. And you can also do Awakening the Immortals Qigong. Okay, do that, do those things. All right, so, all right, people don't listen to me when I say please just only ask questions. They're still dropping all kinds of crap on there. I really wish you guys wouldn't do that. It just makes for a bunch of static for me that I have to scroll through to get to people's questions. So, Awakening the Immortals Qigong, Hool Breath, and Thor's Belt, do those things. Now, if you've done those things and you've felt the power of that, I invite you to enlist in the spiritual army, because we are in a war. This is a spiritual war, which starts in the realm of perception. Here's something you may not have known. Perception is not here. Perception is here. Your heart center is where you perceive. You perceive reality through here, not here. So those of you trying to open up your third eye, thinking you're going to see the world for what it is, unless you've opened up the other two, which is the navel and the heart, this is meaningless. Those of you who think that you're going to gain perception by, anyway, I won't get into that. But what I can tell you is that if you open up this heart center and you open up the hidden energy within it, which is called the heart mind, or which is called the lightning power. If you're able to open up that, then you will have the power to fight against and destroy the perception that is being forced upon you by the reptilian agenda, by the elites. Again, I don't care what word you use. Go here, go to thunderwizard.com, click around until you see the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. Subscribe and do those practices. I've just uploaded one which is called the Butterfly, which helps you to perceive this shift, that there's these two realities of the mirror, and it'll give you more ability to pass between both sides of the mirror. The energy that it creates is like a laser. Creates a laser-like intensity so that you can split through the different realities. This down here, the maoshan.thunderwizard.com, this is the actual practice that I started learning 30 years ago. And 30 years ago, I learned this stuff right here. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but it absolutely, completely tore open, the veils of reality for me. And I spent 30 years trying to figure out what was it about these movements that did such crazy things. And you look at it and it looks like some kung fu thing, which it is. But when you actually do the work, the energy of the practices is completely different. So even though I knew this was an esoteric Chinese shamanic practice, I would meet with other Taoists, and I would share my energy with theirs, and their energy was always very different. It was much more three-dimensional. So Tai Chi, Qigong, Xing Yi, Bagua, those are physical three-dimensional energies. This was developed to fight demons with your bare hands. The only thing, you can't fight demons with anything physical, you have to use energy. So instead of doing a ritual and lighting this and having the gods do it, you become this channel for this lightning energy that actually slices demons into pieces. But it also slices through perception. And so what I did is I've been reverse engineering this for 30 years. That's where celestial Qigong came from. That's where a lot of these other things that I'm teaching has come from. And I'm finally now teaching it in its purer form here. And if you want the purest form, you go here. And I offer this to you because we are in a war. It's not coming, it is here. And it is a war of perception and energy. And that is the difference. The transhumanism is they want to use technology and science and medicine to change people. Trust me, they're doing all kinds of experiments on themselves. The Illuminati are, doing all kinds of crazy experiments on themselves. Trying to change, trying to give themselves physical immortality, trying to give themselves psychic powers, trying to give themselves, that's nootropics. They're trying all the physical stuff. You want black magic, all that kind of stuff. They're doing all that kind of stuff to try and get the power so that they can force their timeline into reality. And so instead of being a victim of circumstance, instead of being a victim of the pressure, letting the pressure build up and destroy you or force you into submission, instead of that, start doing this work here and do the free stuff I just gave you. The Awakening the Immortals. If you don't want to, if you don't want to do this or you don't want to subscribe, do the free stuff on the channel, and tap into the lightning energy that's surrounding the heart, and bring it out into your aura, bring it into your awareness, and fight. Now, I'm not talking physical violence. I'm not talking political violence. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you changing your own energy, changing your own perception. And each person who changes their perception, we live in a quantum field. So when you change your perception, you change the quality of the quantum field, and somebody else on the other side of the world is going to spontaneously wake up. So if you want to do your part to help free the minds of others, get them unplugged out of the matrix, your job is to free yourself by changing your energy and changing your perception, and by spiritually fighting against the oppression that is being forced on everybody right now. Okay? All right. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. Again, I want honest questions and honest feelings more than anything else. So Western Gnosis, welcome to the channel. If you have a question, as I've said before, you see down there people are writing the word question in all caps. That's how you get my attention. All right, so Western Gnosis says, what are your thoughts on using psychedelics to raise Kundalini? I think that's like driving an 18-wheeler diesel truck through a slalom course instead of riding an electric motorcycle. I think it's clunky. I think it doesn't work very well. Psychedelics, you're forcing your body, you're literally taking your pineal gland and you're squeezing it forcibly so that it squeezes out DMT. So you're going to have an experience, but you can't tell whether it's true or not, because all visionary experiences are dealt with the three energy centers. You have your higher, your middle, and your lower. Your lower center is where psychic intuition for most people comes from. When you ingest psychedelics, you are going into a trip into your unconscious mind. And if your unconscious mind is filled with craziness and garbage, you're going to have some crazy experience, and you won't have achieved anything. So psychedelics is the way of the past. Psychedelics is like driving a giant 18-wheeler through a slalom course when you can be on an electric motorcycle. And you have an assumption in there that psychedelics raise Kundalini. You have assumptions about what Kundalini is. So welcome to my channel, Western Gnosis, because there are three energy centers. There are three energies, two which you know of. One is chi or prana, life force energy, breath energy. That's what Qigong uses. That's what deep breathing uses. This is why Wim Hof is such a very good and very popular meditation method, because it really uses chi power, prana. So you have chi, you have Kundalini. Kundalini is not chi. You go on to YouTube and you type in what is Kundalini, you will get hundreds of videos telling you that Kundalini is the universal life force energy, and it's not. Kundalini is specific to human beings only, and it is in the spinal column, and the energy that rises through the spinal column goes through the chakras. The chakras are not energy centers like the three dantians. They're not energy reservoirs. They are projections from the spinal column having to do with 7 levels of psychological maturity. The root chakra is about getting over your psychological issues about physical security, having stuff. This is why children, babies need to be wrapped up in blankets. They have a lower chakra issue to feel secure. They need stuff. They need things. You get it? So your assumption is that if you take psychedelics and forcefully squeeze your pineal gland and you release DMT into your body, that's going to raise your Kundalini, and you have whatever assumptions Kundalini is going to do for you. So I hope that you spend more time on my channel, because I'd love to educate you on, I think, some inaccurate assumptions about all that. So my thoughts are that that's not going to work the way that you think it is, and I think that your assumptions about it are not accurate. The reason why that I am pushing this stuff is because there's a third energy that the world doesn't know of. You have Chi, you have Kundalini, and then there is Shin, which is the heart mind. The soul lives in the heart center. The soul is not three-dimensional. So in order for the soul to be able to be in three-dimensional reality, it has to be housed in a physical meat bag, which is your virtual reality meat suit. And then it needs to be in a container that protects it from three-dimensional reality. The soul is multidimensional. It is not bound by time or space. So the soul must be separated from three-dimensional reality, because if the soul were to have access to three-dimensional reality, it would tear holes in three-dimensional reality. So you have to protect three-dimensional reality. So it's in a self-contained container, and the energy that keeps it in there is lightning. And this is in your heart. Why do we use electricity to start hearts? When that electricity leaves, you die. Your heart stops and you die. So this energy is more powerful than Chi, it is more powerful than Kundalini, and it is the power used to fight demons. Demons are about your perception. Demons are masters of changing your perception, and they do that through your emotions. So your emotions are also coming from the heart. So again, you're asking me to do that. I am giving you a more advanced way. This has been done by the Maoshan Taoist wizards for 2,000 years, and it has been kept secret. Some people have been sharing this. Another brother of mine in the same sect I was in, he shares different things of this same sect. I'm sharing with you the spirit fighting technology. And if you do that, you won't have to worry about, trust me, if you do this here, I guarantee you, if you do that for an hour a day, any psychedelic you take is training wheels. It's nothing. It's nothing compared to the real thing. That's my answer to your question. Gebo the Shaman, hi there. What else? Any other questions here? The Vincent.thunderwizard.com. You can go to his website. He's one of my astrologers that I have certified. You can also go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. You can go there, or you can go to Vincent.thunderwizard.com and you can get a Vedic reading, which is very helpful. You learn what your particular mantra and ritual is based on your chart, which will help you stay on your true soul path. What else? I'm looking for the questions here. Joe 21.1, if you have a question, do me a favor, write out a question. That's not really a question, you're just sort of giving your opinion there. What else? Nimzaj KIA, honest feelings. Put it in all caps so I can see it. Your honest feelings. Otherwise, I'll miss it. I don't want to miss it. You say, I'm mad because the person in control of the most powerful country in the world wants to implement some medical procedure to cross the border to that country. Well, I don't blame you for being angry about that. Steve Talbot, he threw down $9.99, and he says, I recognize that my discomfort is my new, more preferred reality coming into being. Everything is working out. Poo P, can you please write the word question? You say, can you clarify your stance on climate change? What is unclear to you? And when have I told you anything about climate change? I haven't talked about it in this. This channel, this video isn't about climate change. What is it that you want me to tell you? Do you want me to give you my political stance? You want to give me my spiritual? You have to be clear about it. Be clear about what you want from me. What else? No questions here. All right. Zeralath, honest feeling. I was as foolish as the Q shaman in 2014. I worry about him. Yeah. I bet you he's not having a good time. I bet you he's wondering what the hell, how did I end up here? What's going on? Unfortunately, he's a casualty in this battle. This is why it's really important to be emotionally mature, why it's important to be a critical thinker. So again, what is critical thinking? If QAnon shaman, if I could go back in time, and if he had come to me and asked for my help, I would have sat him down and I would have said, okay, tell me everything you think is going on. And he would have told me his whole QAnon, and he would have screamed at the top of his lungs and done whatever. And I would have said, okay, great. Now, we're going to find out if that's true or not. And he's going to go, I know it's true, so we'll find that out. And I'd say, great. And I'd say, now we're going to apply all of your beliefs to a critical thinking grid. So what is critical thinking? Again, let's bring it up. Critical thinking is absolutely essential. Without it, you either become a QAnon or you become one of the reptilian sleeper agents. Sorry, let me find. Is it way down here? Must be up here somewhere. So I'm looking for my critical thinking questions. Just give me a second here. I can't do two things at once. Come on, there it is. Number one, everybody, including me, has unconscious emotional agendas. Knowing what I've seen about QAnon, he's got serious mommy issues. He has a lot of unconscious agendas about wanting mommy and daddy's love, which is why he still lived in mommy's basement. And mommy made him his organic meals. So he would have to take a look at, number one, what are my unconscious emotional agendas? Everybody, including me, we have unconscious emotional agendas, which means emotional attachments, projections. So I was right 6 months ago when I was saying, all of you people talking about this, whatever, you all have these childhood agendas that you're projecting onto the world. Stop being such victims. I wasn't wrong about that. He is one of those people. His instinct was telling him that something was wrong, but he conflated it with his own unresolved mommy and daddy issues, and he projected that onto the world. So I would sit down with him and we would look at his unconscious emotional attachments, his beliefs about things, his need to believe that, his thing was little kids, infants and little kids were being used and abused. And that's obviously his projection. It's not that that's not true. It's just that that was the linchpin. That's what got him into QAnon, was the little babies, which means that he felt as a little kid he didn't get love and approval, and he's projecting that onto the world. In fact, he's projecting that onto the world that he doesn't care if it's true or not, as long as somebody comes along and says, Yeah, they're taking them down into, underground pizza parlors, and they're doing experiments on babies. And that's all he needs to hear. He doesn't have to verify it. His emotions tell him it's true, so now he's true. So he doesn't know the difference between his unconscious fantasies and objective reality, and he can't tell the difference between what his instinct is telling him and what his unconscious unresolved issues are telling him. So number one, everyone has unconscious emotional agendas. You can't, that knowledge won't take your agendas away, but it gives you the ability to go, oh wait, maybe I'm responding from my emotions right now instead of my awareness. This is what happened with me. I mean, as somebody, I won't get into it, somebody told me about something, and I went, I'd never heard about that before. I'm going to try and debunk that. And then as I went to debunk that one thing, it then turned out not to be debunked, which then made the other thing not debunked, and then all of a sudden, bunk, 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 all of a sudden the conspiracy became undeniable. And I've just recently had to make the decision that I'm going to stop researching, because the deeper I go, the more horrific it gets. And I can't survive it. So I'm just going to focus on what I know I need to do to protect myself. And I know what to do. Now I'm going to focus on the spiritual, the spiritual solution. Because if I keep digging, the conspiracy just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's just so depressing. I can't handle it. So, getting back to your question, which was, I forgot what your question was. Somebody's question. Oh, I was as foolish as the QAnon shaman. All right. And so if I was with QAnon shaman, I would, number one, say everybody has an unconscious emotional agenda, so be prepared to drop yours. Number two, are my emotional agendas hampering my ability to process information? Dude, you're living in your mom's basement. Your mom is cooking your meals for you. You obviously have unresolved mommy issues. You can't see past that. Your unconscious issues are hampering your ability to see the truth. You have to be willing to do that work, or you're never going to be able to know what the truth is. Number three, now we get into the questions. So once you get to the understanding that, okay, I cannot process information 100% accurately 100% of the time. I have flaws. I will misinterpret. I will project. That's a fact. So let's just accept that and be prepared. The truth is, for instance, I was with my group of people and I was upset about something, and somebody said, is this your projection? Are you projecting from your childhood? Now, my feeling was, no, it's not. But the only truthful thing I could say was, if that's true, I'm not aware of it. Meaning, I accept the possibility that I might be projecting, but if I am, obviously it's coming from my unconscious. I'm not consciously aware of it. I'm open to be wrong about this. That's the most honest anybody can be. So when you go up to somebody and you say something and about them, you're wrong about this, or you're projecting, and they flip out and they say, I am not projecting. Don't gaslight me. That's a good sign that they are. That they're defending an unconscious emotional attachment, which is hampering their ability to see the truth. So once you ask those two questions, now you're ready to ask the next ones. So again, I'm with QAnon shaman, and he says that that reptilians are underneath the earth feeding on babies, and so this is all about feeding off of the energy of children. I would say, okay, when is something 100% true or false? He would say it's absolutely 100% true. And I would say, okay, usually nothing is ever 100% true or false. So then we move on to the next question. Number 4, when is something partially true or partially false? Is there some truth to anything about that? Yes. The way that the elites control you is by keeping you immature, by keeping you needy, by keeping you dependent. You feel forced. You feel as though you are a victim. You feel that they are controlling you. That is partially true. It doesn't necessarily mean that there are infants under the ground being eaten by Hillary Clinton. Did Jeffrey Epstein, was he part of the elite structure, and was he associated with predation on children? Yes. When is something partially true and partially false? When is something sometimes true and sometimes false? You keep following it. So then when you keep asking those questions, you get to the truth. You finally get to the truth. How do I feel about the information? This is what I'm running into with my friends. So bear in mind, I have friends who are completely, totally hypnotized by the reptilian agenda. Completely hypnotized. They're still my friends. They still love me. They still want me in their life. They want me to get the special thing that everybody's doing. They want me to be part of the crowd and have that same thing that they got. And they wish that I would wake up to that. But when I give them the evidence, the undeniable evidence of what's really going on, you can see them kind of like, they go back and forth. You can see them fighting with their cognitive dissonance. But what keeps bringing them back is that they can't, when they start to think about, if what you're saying is true, then it means that there are people who really want to cause me harm, that say they want to take care of me. And I say, yeah, that's right. That's exactly what's happening. That is the logical conclusion. If A plus B equals C, and you agree that A is true, yeah. You agree that B is true, yeah. You agree that A plus B equals C, you go, well, I'm not sure that A plus B equals C. Because that would mean that so-and-so, isn't trying to help me, that so-and-so, is lying about this, that so-and-so is actually murdering people. That's the tipping point. The tipping point is the belief that you're being taken care of. Just like they said in that video. Let's watch it again. This is what they're doing with this. Where is it? Is it way up here? It's just brilliant. I mean, they show their hand. This is the thing about the elites tell you exactly what they're going to do to you. They're not lying. It's all out in the open. They're not hiding any of it. And they say, take the sound off. They say, look at how happy he is. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Whatever you want, you'll rent. You won't own it, and it'll be delivered to you. You won't have to go anywhere. The U.S., it won't be the world's leading superpower anymore. There won't be this thing called free will and democracy and freedom. And hey, we're going to destroy your organs, but don't worry, we'll print some new ones for you. Right? I got to stop there before I get into trouble. So that they're giving you that, and that's where it all hinges. If people can get past their emotional agendas to need for the powers that be to be loving parents, if they can let go of that, then everything falls like dominoes. But if they can't let go of that emotional agenda, if I can't believe that President so-and-so or Premier so-and-so has my best interests there, I can't believe that the three letters of this entity that's only here for my health and well-being, this independent international entity that's making all of these decisions about my health, if they're not there for my benefit, I mean, then that's the tipping point. That's the emotional agenda. This is where critical thinking comes in. All right, let's keep going. Impetus correspondent, honest feeling. After working with the lightning qigong for a good long while, my political views have changed completely. I feel it has drastically improved my morals and politics. All right, got to be careful here. If you have a question, belly B, write the word question. You're asking way too many questions, so many things I can't answer that, even if I wanted to. But I'll answer your first thing. Is there any way we can ask to be given mercy here? No. Nope. This is what you've been told was coming. You've been hearing it in Christian religion. You've been hearing it in Vedic religion. You've been hearing it in Norse mythology. You've been seeing it in movies, The Matrix. The universe has been telling you that transformation is coming. You cannot avoid it. Your desire to be given mercy means that you are afraid, and you don't need to be afraid. But you're going to have to give up your attachment to the world. So your attachment to something or someone else taking care of you, you must die to that. In order to survive this, we must individuate, which means that we must find the power within ourselves. I'm living this. I'm lucky. I don't have kids. I don't have any family that's alive anymore. I don't have any attachments. My job is my right here on my laptop. And as long as I have internet, I can work my business anywhere in the world. So I'm lucky. I can pick up and leave, which is exactly what I'm going to do. Probably in about a month, I will be on a plane to Costa Rica. And I'm going to set up shop there and do what I was doing here there. I can do that. My life allows me to individuate, but there are people, they have to relate to family, they have to relate to friends, they have jobs, they have kids, they have homes, they have mortgages, but you got to drop all of that. I'm not saying to go sell your home or anything. I'm saying that you must be only dependent upon yourself and your soul's connection to the world. Be very clear, this is a spiritual war for possession of your soul. What the elites want is to own your soul, which is your identity. I mean, look at it again, the beginning of it. What did they say? They say, you will own nothing and you will be happy. I mean, in other words, they're saying, you will have no self-determination. You will not be an individual. You will not be yourself. So you're asking me, who do you want to get mercy from? You want to get mercy from the reptilians that want to take over your life, your everything, to completely own you, mind, body, soul? You want to ask them for mercy? They'll give you plenty of mercy. They'll give you a place to live. You won't own it. You'll rent it. They'll give you a job. They'll bring all of the foods that are laced with whatever it is, chemicals that control you with. Those will be dropped to your house by drone. They'll do nothing but bring mercy to you. You want the easy way out? There it is. Just don't do anything. Just don't do anything. Listen to all of the media outlets and whatever they tell you. Listen to whatever they tell you to do. Listen to what YouTube tells you. Listen to what Twitter and Facebook, listen to all of their recommendations. Do everything that you're told to do and don't fight anything. Don't have any independent thought, and you will be given mercy. You will be given a cubicle to live in, and you will be given a reason to live, They'll give you a broom or whatever else that you're supposed, whatever your job is, they will give it to you. Do you want to survive? Do you want to have your own life? Do you want to have your own mind? Do you want to have your own soul? Then the mercy is going to come from directly from spirit. There's only two ways to go here. You either buy into the International Federation of Planets, or you buy into the kingdom of God is within me. That's it. Sorry. Do you want mercy? I don't know what you're asking for. I'm sorry that you're afraid, and I'm sorry that you feel so frightened that you don't, that you need mercy, you need time, you need space. That's kind of what you're saying. What you're saying is, I just need some time to figure this out. You don't have it. So it's up to you. But if you do choose the path of individual freedom, you will have to go through a death, and it will be frightening. You may lose family, you may lose friends, you may lose jobs. Like me, I mean, I don't have a country really. My choices have put me in a space where I have to find some place where I can have certain choices and not be forced to do certain things. So my next, I'm being forced out of, I'm not being forced, but if I want to hold on to my freedoms, I got to leave where I'm at. And I was very sad about that. It was like a death. It's very saddening for me. But I do think it's an upgrade. I think Costa Rica is going to be an upgrade for me. So I'm enjoying that. But I can't give you the easy way out. There isn't one. What else? Sorry, I'm trying to get, this is why I have to scroll through all of the chatter. Cody Hill asks, honest question. Again, you either have a question or an honest feeling. You don't need to have an honest question, okay? If you just have a question, that's fine. Do you feel that those who work in, quote, left-brained career paths should find another career path and spend more time working on more spiritual aspects of life? I don't have an opinion on what somebody's career path is. I mean, Cody, you've been on my channel long enough. You know my book. There's only one thing to do, which is the one command is you follow what your soul wants to do. If your soul wants to work in a left-brained career, then do that. There isn't about a good career or a bad career. So it's not about career paths. It's about following your soul. What is this? All right, that's not a question. That's not a question. Noise, noise, noise. People talking to each other, taking up my time and my space. This is true. Matthew 3:16. No, I'm not going to say that. Don't get me into any political talks, guys. Do you want me to stay on this YouTube channel? Listen, I'm more than happy to move completely over to Odyssey. They've got a live stream thing. I'm more than happy to do that. But that would mean that all of you would have to go over to my Odyssey and subscribe there. If I have 20,000 subscribers on Odyssey, I will stop being here on YouTube, and I won't have to talk in code. So that's up to you guys. More than likely, I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm going to stay here as long as I have to, because if I leave YouTube now, I won't be able to pay the bills. Olivia Rackley, all you need is a question. I don't need an honest question. Wait, Legendary DJ has an honest feeling. Wait, Snowbuddy has a question. Wait, there are other questions here. Hang on. Where did I go? Where was the last one? Okay, a lot of questions here. All right. Where were we? All right, now I'm back on track here. Heitor Lima, question. What are you talking about? I just got here. Could you synthesize? So, Hatar, welcome to my channel. The two most important things in life: pay attention and put effort. So instead of all of us stopping and rewinding and me telling you everything from the beginning, pay attention. If you look at your screen, you'll be able to see that you can rewind all the way back to the beginning. So I want you to rewind all the way back to the beginning, and then you can watch the video from the beginning. You don't have to make all of us stop just because you showed up. Okay? And put effort. And then you'll be up to speed. Welcome to the channel. Ed the Wave, honest feeling. I've gotten the sense over this whole, I'm not going to say that word, that the elites are really trying to stop or prevent people from having intimacy and close connections with one another. I agree. You know, you can't stand next to somebody. Like I said, if you're trapped at home, you have to stay at home and you're not allowed to go outside of your home, then the only ways that you can communicate with your friends are through the phone and social media. But social media is controlling your conversations. So people can't get information. Like right now, I can't give you information that could potentially save your life. I can't do it because I'm not allowed to on this forum. And this is part of the reptilian agenda. If you isolate people and you keep them from communicating, you keep them from connecting, then you take away their power. And then the only information they get is from the collective, and then they get indoctrinated into the collective, and then they start trusting the collective. And then, like my friends who are fully educated and are critical thinkers, they have no awareness of the actual news and science that's going on, and they can't access it because they're addicted to being part of the collective. It's warm and safe, and you know, you're absolutely right. That's when, you know, you go out in public and you have certain things you have to wear on your head that prevent you from people seeing your facial expressions. It disconnects you. You have to stay a certain number of feet apart from somebody. That disconnects you. You can't go into certain places unless you have that special, wonderful thing. That disconnects you. You can't even go to work. Some people can't even get a. I mean, that is the strategy, to separate and isolate, and then they can only get information from the collective. Let's see. Hey, Dean, how are you? Dean, do me a favor. When you come on, write your website. So dean.thunderwizard.com. Do you see that the other guy does that? When you come on here, don't put the dot. Actually, write Dean and then write the words the letters D-O-T and then C-O-M. When you do that, I will tell people to go to your website so that they can get an astrology or is it just a rune reading from you. So go to Dean, DEAN.thunderwizard.com. He is one of my certified apprentices in runes. I think it's just runes, right? Hey Torlima, honest feeling. I'm from Brazil. Here the dollar is 5.5 of our money, so your courses, practices are multiplied by 6 to us. Now that I know that there is a turning point, I don't know if I have. So, Hatar, as I've said earlier, which maybe you didn't hear, you can also do these practices for free. You don't have to. You can't have you can't subscribe to those two things. But here are 3 things. I'll give them to you again. You can find this one just by searching YouTube, the Hool Breath. If you do the Hool Breath for an hour a day for the rest of your life, you will evolve. I also recommend that you do the Awakening the Immortals Qigong. That is a free practice on my channel. If you look, recently I've got one, the most powerful practice in the world, and I give you free complete practices, that will take an hour to do. So you don't have to pay for it. I wish you did, because I need money to go to Costa Rica. So all of you, if you guys want to help me get on a plane and get someplace safe where I can do my thing, I don't take donations, but I do offer all of these services. Contribute to that, and you can go to sleep happy knowing that I'll be safe on a plane somewhere, escaping the collective as it clamps down on around me. What else? Zeralath question: do you see evidence to support a free will choice of timeline, or only one we are fighting for? I don't understand your question. There are two timelines that are being forced. One has a 20% chance of being actualized, and that is the elites, which is the Star Trek United Federation of Planets. You won't own anything and you'll like it. That has about a 20% chance of being manifested. But in order for that, you just have to knuckle under and accept, and don't fight. Don't have any thoughts, don't have any feelings, don't have any independent thoughts. Just do everything they tell you to do, and then you will help to create that. We live in a quantum field. So 80% chance that's not going to happen. The 80% of the quantum field is pushing towards the other side, which is human liberation, human transformation, and going to, the Aquarian age. So we're breaking out of that, and this is the transformation is happening. The gateway was 2012. We went through the gateway, and then things started happening, which has resulted in where we are now. I can't talk about that on this channel. But right now, you are seeing now all the energies flying in two different directions, trying to force a shift. So the shift is happening. You just have to decide which direction you want to go. When you make the decision to be free, to live free, and to be an individual, then you add to the quantum field that energy then goes towards the path of freedom. When you do the work, and when you drop and you resist the path of the reptilians, then you start to vibrate and give more strength, and more people wake up. And this is what all of this is. When you do this, you want to know, what can I do? You do this, somebody else on the other side of the world is going to wake up. When you do this, you actually fight against the energy that's going into the quantum field. This is what actually is like putting a monkey wrench into what they're doing energetically. It actually stops their ability to move forward. And you end up being like spiritual, not like, you actually are. This is my belief, that if people who are called to this and master this, in my opinion, your destiny is to be in the next level. You're going to be spiritual special forces. An archangel like Michael the Archangel. He's like spiritual special forces. This is the training for that. It raises your level up. And I'm not kidding. I mean, when I did this, when I was training in this, I still train, but when I was training like hard, like when I was mastering it, I could walk into any room, and it wouldn't matter if the room was filled with demons or ghosts, they would run screaming. I've walked into rooms where people who were possessed, people who had attachments, they would bolt up and look at me and walk out of the room. They couldn't tolerate being in my presence. All I had to do was just walk in the room. So just by doing this, you create a vibration that actually starts to, like when in the Matrix, when Neo, in the first Matrix, when he realizes who he is and he stops the bullets, and then he runs at Agent Smith and he dives inside of him, and then Agent Smith explodes. That's what this energy does. Just by doing that, it does that. It destroys their ability. So this is my, there's other people giving other practices and knowledges and techniques. This is my job. This is what I've been spending 30, 40 years of my life practicing. And now's the time. This is why now, for the first time in history, I'm giving this out for free. If I did this 10 or 20 years ago, there would have been a knock on my door, and there would have been some really imposing Chinese guys that would have been standing at my door telling me that you can't do that. And the reason why I can do it now and get away with it is because if we don't, there's a possibility we could end up in the United Federation of Planets. I'm sorry that I keep changing my metaphors, but I think you know what I'm talking about here. Okay, what else? Last Dragon, you don't have to do the whole thing in all caps. Just write the word question in all caps, and the rest of it I can see, but at least I saw it. Do you think the ones that took its soul is still protected? I don't know what you're talking about. First off, I used to before I got into the spirit fighting, I was an exorcist. It wasn't something I sought out. I wasn't looking for it. Obviously, it's something that I was meant to do. And I learned by doing exorcisms, like the kind of stuff you see in the movie The Exorcist. Everything except for the head spinning around in circles, everything else happened. That stuff is real. And what I learned was, even though I was a Christian at the time, and I would do, in the name of Jesus, blah, 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 Satan, I command you. Even though I was doing that, it wasn't the name of Jesus that was doing it. I know that sounds blasphemous, but it wasn't the name of Jesus that was driving out the demons. The name of Jesus was, for me, a conscious symbol of my soul, connecting to the infinite universe. You can use Brahma, you can use Shiva, you can use Hanuman, you can use Odin, you can use Thor. That's why this is a demon fighting symbol. Come here. This is a demon fighting symbol. The Thor's hammer. This is why when you make the Thor's hammer in the air, which is what Christians do, they make the Thor's hammer on their body. Thor's hammer is destruction of demons. It doesn't matter what symbol or what name you use, as long as in your mind it represents the infinite. So you could say, in the name of Zothar the Magnificent. If that's what connected you to the infinite, demons would have to stop and obey you. But it wasn't the name of Jesus that drove them out, because what would happen, I found out really quickly, is that every person that was possessed, by the way, there's a huge difference between being possessed and by having a ghost in your house, or by thinking that you're possessed, which most people that think that they're possessed, really they just have a bunch of seriously unresolved emotional issues. Possession is a whole different thing. Possession is not something that I think I am. I mean, possession is when, shit flies around the room and you get picked up and thrown across the floor. You go into, you lose consciousness and your face completely morphs and changes and your voice changes and you speak in other languages. That's possession. The majority of people say, I think I have an attachment. You just got unresolved emotional issues. It's your own unconscious that's doing it to you. Ooh, I heard a scary noise. I'm possessed. No, possession is not something. There's no question. When you see it, it's not like, I think that guy's possessed. There's just no two ways about it. But what drove the demon away was that every single person that I did an exorcism on had been physically, emotionally, sexually, psychologically abused. And the trauma of that forced them to unconsciously ask for protection. And so what ended up happening is that the energetic deal is that the person on an unconscious level will ask a demon to come in and protect them. And the way the demon protects them is the demon abuses them. Literally, like, will, pull their arm out of the socket and abuse them, frighten them, all kinds of horrible things, physically attack them. But the chaos and the drama of all of that distracts the person from what really bothers them, which is that my father did this and this to me. The pain of being betrayed by the people you love is so overwhelmingly horrific that it's better for them to be distracted by some spirit, possessing them. That's how horrible their experience is. So to be possessed, you have to be really, really screwed up. And what ended up happening every single time is that I'd have my hand on their chest and I would be saying, in Jesus' name, blah, blah, blah. And they'd pass out and the demon would come and blah, 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 and then I would say, in Jesus' name, I command you. And then they'd pass out and then the person would come up and they'd say, hurry up, you got to help me. They're coming for me. And I would say, who hurt you? Who hurt you? And they'd say, Uncle so-and-so. And I said, you have to forgive them. And they say, no. And so I said, the only way that you're going to get rid of the demon is if you forgive whoever hurt you. You have to forgive them. You have to say it. So they'd have to say, I forgive Uncle Frank for whatever he did. And then I could get rid of the demon. And then I'd sit them down, and trust me, this was no fun. Being puked on, the language that comes out of the mouths of demons is so horrible. And the smells that come out of them, it's just horrible. There's just nothing pleasant about it. And I'd sit them down and they would feel all grateful and, oh God, I'm with God now. And I'd say, okay, now you have to get your act together. You've got to go to therapy. You've got to start meeting with the pastor. You've got to start counseling. You got to give up drugs and alcohol. You have got to work through your feelings. Otherwise, it's going to come back. This isn't permanent. This is temporary. Now you finally can go work through the real issues. Go get a therapist. And they'd say, okay, yeah, whatever. And they wouldn't, because it was too painful. And 2 weeks later, they'd be possessed again. So I stopped doing exorcisms for that reason. So your question, do you think it's the ones that took its soul is still protected? The only way that anybody can do anything to you is if you let them. No demon can touch you without your permission. No person, no government can do anything to you without your permission. This is why you must hold on to your freedom. If you think that you can stave them off by, okay, well, I'll do that thing they want me to do this one more time, just one more, and then it'll all be over. It won't. This is a beginning. You have no idea, maybe you do, but I can't talk about it, but the beginning of an entire campaign of world domination and control has already started. It's not coming, it's here. And you choosing in every moment, am I going to live for myself or am I going to let them tell me what to do? If you let them tell you what to do thinking it'll be okay, they'll back off. That's not how it works. But you must choose to give everybody permission to do whatever they do to you. Nothing happens without your permission. So there are no victims here. You don't need to be protected. Your soul protects you from everything. If you live 100% from your soul, you will be bulletproof. If you live to please others, you give away your power. And this is the test. The test is here. It's not like 10 years ago where, well, maybe I just won't watch that negative stuff and maybe I'll spend more time meditating and that's how I've proven I'm close to my soul. You're literally going to have to make a choice. You will be given a choice, and it will be, do you want to give them power over your physical body or not? That's where it's going to start. You first have to give them power over your physical body. Then it will be your mind, then it will be your soul, then it will be... But at any point in that process, you can stop and decide to take your soul back. So to answer your question there, you don't have to be protected. If you lost your protection, it's because you gave it away. That's part of the programming, is to say that you don't have power. So you think, no, I couldn't. I didn't have a choice. No, you have a choice. You might lose your job. You might lose your relationship. You might have to leave the country. You might have to run away like I am. I'm running away. I'm running away someplace where I can be safe. I'm not proud of it, but that's the fact of the matter. But as long as you worship your own soul and make that the priority, you're bulletproof. Chan's the Nemeton Shriner. Question: can celestial qigong chop up trolls and demons? It's the celestial qigong is reverse engineered from this. So the energy is the same, so potentially yes. But are you going to be able to walk in with your hands and do the stuff that I know how to do? Probably not. Will you be able to create, an energy in your body that makes you able to walk through places and demons will run from you? Yes. I can't guarantee it because you'll have to do the work, but the celestial qigong will give you the power to vibrate at a level that demons cannot tolerate. That's not a question. Warhammer, question: I hope you are doing well. I have a choice between something I can't mention and getting fired from a job. I am confused. My whole being is against that. I'm confused what to do. You're not confused. You're not confused. I mean, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but if you have a choice between doing something you don't want to do to keep your job, or to do what you do want to do and lose your job, that's your choice. There's no confusion there. So it's up to you. How important is that job? Is that job important enough for you that you're going to let somebody literally have access to your physical body? Because that's the choice. The choice is, if you want this job, you have to give me access to your physical body. And if you say, no, my body is my own, then they say, I'm sorry, you can't work here. That's your choice. There's no confusion. What do you want to do? So here's some other things to think about. If you believe that you're not capable, or that the universe will not provide you with a means to live, then your assumption is you have to do what other people tell you, or you won't be able to find a way to make a living and feed yourself. That's really what your question is. Your question is assumption. I don't have the ability to determine and provide for myself, and therefore my only option is. So everything before the therefore is an assumption. So you want me to buy into the assumption that you don't have other options, and I don't believe that. What you choose to do is not my business. I'm not here to tell you what to do. You do what you believe is right. But you're not confused. You're scared. And I would be scared too. Question is, when are you going to get angry? When are you going to stop being confused and stop being scared? And when are you going to get angry? anger is an emotional response to a physical threat or a perceived physical threat. Like a physical threat is when somebody threatens to take your money, your home, your food away from you. People get angry when they get threatened that that's going to be taken away, because it's a physical assault on their ability to protect themselves. So somebody's coming to you and saying, you see this money? I'll give you this money if you give me access to your body. Why doesn't that make you angry? Just a question. Poopy, question. I would strongly recommend changing your username. Really. Question, what do you think should be done to prevent climate change and the extinction of humanity as opposed to the plan of the elites? What makes you think that the elites aren't seeking to prevent climate change? I mean, you saw the film. They're going to get rid of fossil fuels. They're going to make money while they're doing it, but they're going to get rid of fossil fuels. So what makes you think that this is something I never got, which now I get. But before, if you were to talk to me 2 months ago, I would say, I don't understand why the Republicans don't believe in global warming. I don't get it. It's obvious. Human-caused global warming is obvious. It's undeniable. I don't understand. They don't want, they're right about all these other conspiracies about how they're trying to take all kinds of things and force us to do this and that. But this one, how could you not see that the oil companies are lying to you about there is no climate change because they want to make billions of dollars of you driving a car down the street? How can you not see that? But now I get it. Because the Republicans and the QAnons and the Fox News watchers, they're not critical thinkers, and they're not very emotionally evolved, and they're not good, and they're not educated. So what ends up happening is that their instincts tell them that something's wrong. Their intuition is telling them that something is wrong. And so then they conflate with all of their insecurities and their projections and their lack of education, and that's where QAnon comes from. So they conflate, but their instinct is right. Their instinct that the liberal push about global warming is connected to something that is dangerous. And so because they're not critical thinkers, they go, well, global warming is a hoax. You're trying to take away my freedom to drive a car. But they're wrong about that. What they're right about is that the United Federation of Planets, the Reptilian United Federation of Planets, the World Economic Forum, what they're going to do is they are going to indoctrinate people by saying, oh no, we need control over you, and we need control over all of this farmland, and we need control over all of these oil fields. We need control over all of this to save you from global warming. So you need to go into your cubicle, rent your cubicle, let the drones bring you your paste and your happy pills, and go to your job, and we'll get rid of global warming for you. That's why the Republicans have this need to say that global warming doesn't exist, because what they're really fighting against is the Federation of Planets is going to use global warming as a way to control them. And they know that. They feel it. Now I get it. Jonathan H. says, how do I use this heart lightening? What do you think I've just given you? I've given you the Hool breath. I've given you go onto my channel, all of the Qigong. I've given you this. How do you use it? You do the practices. The heart lightening energy gets released in your body. You can't release it any other way. It won't release on its own. Chi, you breathe, you get chi power. You do certain postures, or you just start to meditate or chant, the Kundalini rises. You cannot access the heart energy, the lightning energy, unless you know the physical movements to stimulate it. And that's what this is. So you have to learn the keys to unlock it, and then the way you use it is you use it for your own healing, your own awareness, your own empowerment, and that will shift the world. And then as you go through life, your energy will actually destroy negativity as you walk through life. You'll have to destroy your own negativity inside of you, which might not be very fun, but that's how it's used. What else? The Last Dragon, I asked a question. You just have to scroll up. I think I did. You yelled at me in all caps, and I think I answered your question. Joe 21-1 question. Opinion on, quote, peace and love is the answer to the overthrow of the government. What is your question? You haven't asked me a question. You've thrown out, here's what people say. You have to ask, I mean, you want me to go? I don't know. I have all kinds of feelings about it. You obviously have some feelings about it. What are your questions about it? Jonathan Ace, question. How do you use this heart lightning energy? I already told you. Haitor Lemur, question, off topic. You talk a lot about the Abrahamic religions and trash it with reason. But have you heard about the Kabbalah? So, welcome to my channel. I don't talk about things I don't teach. I don't know anything about Kabbalah. I can't talk about something I haven't practiced. I personally don't feel aligned with it because I don't feel aligned with anything Abrahamic. Western, that's why I don't like Western magic, because they use biblical angels and the Jehovah this and they, you know, I don't like that crap. I don't like, even as symbols, I don't like them. So I don't have any desire for Kabbalah, and I don't do it. But Hator, if you want to learn about Kabbalah, ask somebody who does it. Don't ask me. You know, you're putting me in a position to badmouth something I don't know anything about, which I just did. So you are complicit in me bad-mouthing something I don't know anything about. So have respect for me, have respect for yourself, have respect for everybody here, and ask questions about what I teach, not about stuff I don't teach. You don't walk into a university physics class and ask, hey, I have a question on the Shakespeare quiz. You're like, get out of my class. I don't teach Shakespeare. I don't teach Kabbalah, so don't ask me about it. Welcome to the channel. Sabrina Smith, question. I've started doing the whole breath. Good for you. I'm feeling tingling sensation through my chest, radiating down my arms and in my palms. No pain. Is this normal? Yes. That's exactly what you're supposed to feel. I mean, you don't have to feel anything, but that would be that means that the heart center, the lightning power we're talking about, is opening through the channel coming out the palms. So this is one of the main channels. It goes up right past here, goes up here, goes down here past the nipple to the heart, and opens up the lightning. So if you noticed, all of the stuff that I teach, there's all these kinds of movements like that, because that's what stimulates that energy pathway. So yes, you're doing things accurate, and now you know that you are tapping into a very user-friendly form of the lightning energy. That's probably the most user-friendly form, is the Hool breath. You start getting into the other stuff like the hands of creation and the yin-yang hands and the butterfly hands, and you start getting into the, you know, the special forces type of, you know, potency of it. Snow Buddy, question. Is the Maoshan stuff in any way related to Xinyi Chuan? Yes, they're both Chinese. They're both Taoist. Other than that, nothing. Xingyi is one of the only internal arts that knows of the heart-mind. But what they'll tell you is, you kind of have to be careful because they sort of accidentally, they do postures and things and they sort of accidentally sometimes tap into it. And they'll tell you you have to be careful of that. It means they don't understand it. So the Maoshan stuff is related only in the sense that it's Taoist, that it's Chinese, but in terms of the energy, so if you've watched my channel, I've said it before. Xing Yi, like other Taoist stuff, goes from to Jing, which is sexual energy, Jing, Qi, which is life force energy, and Shen, which is the masculine aspect of the soul. So that's what Xing Yi does. Jing, Qi to Shen. The Maoshan goes from Qi, Shi, which is heart energy, lightning energy. Stop that. To Yi, which is intention. So it's a whole different science. It's a whole different thing. They're in the same neighborhood, but they're in the same city, but they're in two different neighborhoods. When I would train with Tai Chi masters, Xing Yi guys, Bagua guys, and I would show them the energy, they would go, I've never felt anything like that. They had no defense against it either. They have no defense against it either. So it's totally different stuff. It's in the same ballpark. If you start talking about it, like if I were to talk to a Xing Yi guy or a Bagua guy or a Tai Chi guy about energy, they would nod their head as if they knew what I was talking about, but they'd be interpreting it through the Jing Qi to Shen path, and they would correct me, no, that means this, no, that is that, no, that's how you do this. And it's like, no, we're on two different wavelengths. These are two different energies. Does that answer your question? And you won't know what the Shi energy is like until you do it. Until you do it, and then again, I've had Tai Chi masters, Xing Yi masters, Bagua masters, who have come and done the celestial Qigong, and then they go, holy crap, I've never felt anything like this in my life, and I've been doing this stuff for 30 years. It's a whole different vibration. But the good news is that when you do the Maoshan, you get Qi and you get Jing. In fact, you can be celibate if you want, but you don't have to be. Whereas if you want to master Xing Yi or Bagua, you have to be celibate. So it's a cheat. It's a hack. What else? Legendary DJ, honest feeling. I feel so confused, like I'm being pulled in all these different directions, trying to put all these pieces together. I feel like I need the truth or I will be walking the wrong path. I completely feel for you. It is very traumatic. You're not losing your mind. It is exactly like when Neo gets unplugged. It is that traumatic. I've been going through it the past 6 weeks. Like I said, this is probably the first day that I feel, kind of comfortable. But I mean, there were days where when you go deep into it and you look into it, just the idea of being forced, to have somebody have that much power over your livelihood, have somebody to have that much power over your ability to eat, I mean, what's next? Are they going to start rounding people up who don't have their, the multipass? I mean, where does it stop? We're this far from that. Where's your multipass? You don't have one. Okay, lock him up. We're almost there. So you're right to feel that way. It's horrific. It's a real assault on your entire being. It's an assault on your mind, an assault on your identity. It's an assault on your freedom. It's an assault on your body. It's an absolute assault on you. And it's an assault on your perception of reality. Up until now, you thought you could trust your government. Up until now, you thought that the Constitution was protecting you. I have rights. I'm an American citizen. I know my rights. You don't have any anymore. You don't even have the most basic right to have your physical body protected. I don't blame you for feeling that way. It's horrible. But you're being tested. Are you going to choose your own freedom and your soul, or are you going to choose being loved and accepted by the collective? Those are your two choices. I'm sorry you're going through that. Olivia Rackley, question. So are you still set on never teaching the advanced telekinetic, psychokinetic fighting stuff? No. You know, I've been in Australia for 2.5 years, and there hasn't been any way for people to come and travel here. So I would have, done. I would love to do qigong classes or retreats or whatever. So if somebody wants to come and learn the Mao Shan, we'll have to do it in Costa Rica. The good news is there's no border issues, especially if you're an American. All you need is a passport, and you're in. You just show up and show your passport. You don't even have to have a visa. You don't even have to have a test. You can just show up with your passport. That's all you need. Question. When you use the term ascension, is this congruent with the term? I don't know what you're talking about. Are you asking me, am I using ascension the same way other people are using ascension? I have no idea. I don't know, and I don't care. You figure that out for yourself. I hope that I'm able to convey to you what I'm talking about. Olivia Rackley, question. So the 90-day challenge does not have personal one-on-one videos? No, it does. It has mean one-on-one Skype sessions. The 90-day challenge does not give you the ability to have a one-on-one session with me personally, but it gives you access to private videos where you press play and I narrate and I talk you through doing the practices. If you want to work with me personally, you have to subscribe to the apprenticeship program, and then you can schedule a one-on-one session with me, depending on which level you're at. 1 week a month, or 1 hour a month, or up to 4 hours a month. Does that answer your question? But you should know that if, again, two most important things: pay attention and put effort. If you went to those sites, it should be self-explanatory. What else? TM, question. When you use the term ascension, oh God, already too much thinking. Don't think so much. Let me see, what is your question? Sorry. When you use the term ascension, is this congruent to the term harvest used by... Again, don't ask me about other people's channels. Stop it. I don't know anything about other people's channels. I don't know. I have no idea, and I don't care. So I'm sorry I can't answer your question. I don't know what they mean by that. I mean to ascend to a higher level. Do you want to know what I mean? I mean to get your body, the cells of your body to vibrate to a certain level where you actually shift to another level of evolution, to another dimension of existence. That's what I mean by ascension. I don't know what they mean. And then you're giving me all this stuff about what they say. I don't care. If you want to go on their channel, go on their channel. Olivia Rackley, question. Do you need to know somebody's face to be able to contact them through spirit travel? When have I ever taught any videos about contacting people through spirit travel? If you can find one of those videos on my channel, I'm sure I answer that question. If you can't find any videos of that, then I don't have an opinion. It's good to ask me about things I teach. Vincent.thunderwizard.com, honest feeling. I'm excited to start group therapy next week. Good. Group therapy is probably one of the best ways to access your emotional agendas. It's much better than one-on-one therapy. So I'm absolutely, I go to group therapy, in case anybody wants to know. It's one of the best ways to uncover your unconscious. It's great. So good for you. Guys are talking to each other, even though I tell you not to do that, not to waste my time with all the noise that I have to scroll through. Warhammer, question, can I have a one-on-one talk with you? So, guys, seriously. I try and make, if it tells me you haven't clicked on the links. If you want a one-on-one session with me, you go to career.thunderwizard.com and you scroll to the bottom and purchase a session. Then after you purchase the session, I will email you with a link where you can go and schedule it. I hope that answers your question. What else? So much noise, I got to scroll through here. Olivia Rackley, honest feelings. I keep having dreams about a World War III situation with China, Iran, and possibly North Korea invading America and devastating. I am terrified. That would terrify me as well. Guys talking to each other. It's like you guys, it's like I'm in class trying to do a lecture, and like the kids in class are talking to each other. It's very hard to talk over you. Wolfie Wolf, not interested in your opinion. And I disagree with you. So I'm going to remove that. Don't come onto my channel and dump your opinion. You want to dump your opinion on your own channel? Go right ahead. But respect my classroom, please. Mario Chavez, question, since everyone will face death, how can we overcome the fear of it? When did I ever tell you you're supposed to overcome anything? Fear is a feeling. And I don't teach you how to get rid of your feelings. What I teach you to do is to have your feelings. Have your feelings. And what is enlightenment? I'll give you my definition once again. Enlightenment is this: having all of your thoughts, all of your feelings, all of your impulses, all of your instincts, positive or negative, pleasant or unpleasant, moral, immoral, have all of them without judgment, feel them fully, and still have the awareness to take constructive action for yourself and others. That is enlightenment. And nothing in there does that teach you how to overcome feelings. That is self-abuse. That's actually a desire for suicide. Suicide is that. It's trying to get rid of a feeling. That's all suicide is. Somebody has a feeling they can't tolerate, so they off themselves. Your desire to overcome your fear of death is self-abusive. If your little child came up to you, a 4-year-old child, and was crying and said, "Daddy, I'm afraid. I think there's a monster in my closet," you wouldn't slap him across the face and say, "Knock it off. Men aren't afraid. Stop being afraid of things." You would go, "Oh, come here," and you would hug him and you'd say, "It's okay to be afraid. I used to be afraid of the closet too." And you'd say, "Let's go look in the closet." And you'd go in the closet and you'd open up the closet and you go, "I'm going to go in there, and if I see a monster, I'll tell you." And you go in there and you say, "There's no monsters here." And you're letting your child have their feelings. You're not talking them out of it. Why are you doing that to yourself? Why are you being so harsh on yourself? I'm afraid of death. I'm afraid of the government. I'm afraid of being, somebody putting a gun to my head and telling me I have to take the good thing or go to jail. I'm afraid of all kinds of things. There's nothing wrong with having fear. It's part of life. You don't have to overcome it. You just take action based on your soul. That's all you're required to do. The only thing you're required to do in life is know what your soul wants and obey it. Everything else is just an experience, and it'll come and go. And if you're right, everybody's going to face death, and you're right, everybody's afraid of it, then they'll face death, they'll be afraid, and then after they die, they go, oh, I'm not afraid anymore. Question, how else can we possibly stop climate change without closely monitoring how we use the planet's resources? What do you mean? How do I know? When have I written or made a video about how to stop climate change? I don't know. I mean, there's so many ways, so many things you can do. Stop driving cars, grow your own food. I mean, what do you want? How do you want me to help you with that? I don't have an answer for you. Hetor Lima, question. Can Shang Qing meditations activate the heat energy? What heat energy are you talking about? Hetor, it sounds like you're new to my channel. So instead of asking me questions about, it's like we're standing there, we're looking at a jacuzzi, and you and I are standing, and you're asking me, so is the water wet? Yes, it's wet. All right, so how does the wet water feel on my skin? How warm is the water again? All right, so can you tell me exactly what's going to happen to my metabolism when I step in up to my knees as opposed, I mean, you just got to do it, Hetor. If you want to know what the Shang Qing meditations, what they do, you go and do them, and then you'll know. You won't have to ask me. Poopy, honest feeling. I don't like it, but I don't see how in the world is there an alternative option to what the elites are proposing when a large chunk of humanity is not able to perceive the problem. Well, I can't argue with a feeling, and that's your feeling. You know why I do this? I tell people to share their honest feelings. And you see, you share a feeling, what am I supposed to do? I don't argue with it. I don't correct you on it. I don't talk you out of it. It's just a feeling. Now you see what your assumptions are. And now you can apply critical thinking. Again, what is critical thinking? Where's my critical thinking thing? I'm about to give up because I can't find it and I'm getting really hungry. There it is. So critical thinking. Everyone, including me, has unconscious emotional agendas. So the other thing about critical thinking is that you have assumptions. And your assumptions then will determine your conclusions. So what you've done in this feeling, and I can't argue it, it's a feeling, but in that feeling are assumptions. Those assumptions haven't been proven. You don't know that they're true. You think that they're true, and those assumptions then are creating feelings within you. And those feelings are determining the actions that you take. So you said, I don't like it, but I don't see how in the world is there an alternative option to what the elites are proposing. So that's an assumption. The assumption is that there isn't an alternative option. Do you know for a fact that there isn't an alternative option? You don't know that. I have an alternative option. I could stay here in Australia and try and get another visa, and then they're going to open up the borders, and they're pushing for 80% happy juice for everybody, and I don't want happy juice. So I will be forced to then deal with whatever the political outcome of that is. This could turn into Melbourne. There could be cops walking the streets, and I'd be stuck here. So I have an option. I can escape to Costa Rica. Well, we'll see if I get there. When I actually land there and I do a video from the rainforest of Costa Rica, then we'll know that I made it. But I'm assuming I'll make it. But that's, I have an alternative option. The other assumption, Pupi, is that you're completely responsible for the whole world. That it's your job to end whatever the problem is for the whole world yourself. And that's an assumption. I don't share that assumption about myself. It's not my job to do everything for anybody. In fact, it's not my job to save the world. My only job is to follow my soul and to do what my soul tells me to do. That's the only thing I'm supposed to do. When I do that, I will vibrate in the collective, of the vibration of the world, and I, just by me taking care of myself, will empower others to take care of themselves, and vice versa. You know, I popped out of the matrix completely about 6 weeks ago, and there's no doubt that that's because more and more people were waking up, and it finally, you know, there was other reasons too. I think if I had popped out earlier, I would have lost my channel. There's no doubt about it. If this had come to light earlier in me and I had started making videos about everything, they would have deplatformed me, because I would have just gone nuts. I would have just gone completely bonkers, you know, on my videos. And when I woke up, when I did, I already knew that there were things I couldn't say. So it gave me the ability to hold on to my platform. So I think there was a reason for it. But other than that, I think more and more people waking up also, you know, vibrated in the collective unconscious and helped me to wake up. So who said your job was to fix the world? And your assumption is an assumption that there isn't any other thing that you can do except go with the flow. And that's an assumption, and you need to analyze what are your emotional agendas. What was it in your childhood that makes you think that you have to do what you're told in order to be part of the solution? I'll be honest with you, it sounds codependent to me. But I also understand it. But you don't have to know what the other option is. All you have to know is that, okay, I can't see any other options, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that there is one. I just don't know what it is yet. Takes all the pressure off of you. You're putting way too much pressure on yourself to figure things out and change the world. So get out of your head, get into your heart, and just worry about yourself first. Then you can worry about others. You can help when somebody comes into your frame of reference or comes into your energy stream and wants your help. You can tell them, here's this meditation, here's the truth about this, and then you will have helped unplug another person out of the matrix. So one person at a time. To Indra James Rangel question, have you thought any more, God, I hate that when that happens. Have you thought any more about the Odin meditation you brought up in your last live session? Yes, I have. I'm not ready to give it out yet. Thank you for asking. Jedi Black Knight question, does the Maoshan wood set also provide the benefits of the butterfly method? No. Then it wouldn't be the wood set, it would be the butterfly set. I mean, they're both the same stuff, so they both do the lightning energy and all that, but no, the butterfly set is the butterfly set and the wood set is the wood set. Snow Buddy, thanks for clearing all that up. Okay, I don't remember what I cleared up, but I'm glad I did. Film Sample CG, you missed my question. Did I? Did you write in all caps? Was there a bunch of noise, everybody talking, and I can't read people's questions? That's why it bothers me. So I'm going to go back up and see if I can find it. And then TM, you know, my channel isn't here for you to give other people advice. They're asking me, not you. You can make your own videos on your own channel and then they'll ask you your opinion. But please don't talk in my classroom. It just makes it harder for me. I missed his question because of not just you specifically, but other people talking over. And I know it's anal retentive of me, but I really do want to answer people's questions, and I can't do that if everybody's talking all the time. Film Sample CG question, how can I stop overthinking? Well, you can stop by trying to figure out how to stop overthinking. I don't even realize if I'm overthinking or not. How can I realize if I'm overthinking? You're overthinking how to overthink. I mean, your overthinking is going crazy right now. Gets me so confused and I don't know what to do. I'm doing 90 day. Do the whole breath. You can't stop your head. You're not going to be able to stop your head. If you've got an overactive mind, it's not going to stop. So stop trying to use your brain to stop your brain. That's what you're doing right now. In fact, you used the word overthinking 3 times in that question. How can I stop overthinking? I don't even realize if I'm overthinking or not. How can I realize if I'm overthinking or not? It gets me so confused. Yeah. Stop talking and go do the whole breath. And then stop. I mean, just do the best you can. I don't know what else to tell you. You know, what I do is if I can't stop thinking, I'll go to the gym and I will do legs until I'm ready to pass out. And then I come home and I'll do the spirit fighting and then I'll meditate. And then I'm usually, my head is pretty empty by then. So that's what works for me. So maybe do the 90 day 3 times in a row. I don't know. Do something so that you're physically moving and breathing and you're not so much just sitting around thinking about things. But the other thing is, overthinking is, it tells me that you have a conflict that you can't work through. So you'd probably be well served by having some kind of a counselor or a mentor or somebody that you can talk to so that you can work through the things that you can't seem to be able to get any peace on. What else? Olivia Rackley question, do you yet know what part of Costa Rica you are moving to? Yes, I do. Tori F question, how do you feel about resentment and what do you think you resent? What kind of question is that? I resent that question. Tori, that's not really a question. So my definition of a question is, you're asking me something that you want to know about that you don't have the answer to. Like, what is the best exercise to open my third eye, for example? That would be an example of a question you might thought I have an answer. But asking me questions like, what do you think you resent? I mean, I don't know, what is that? That sounds really codependent. You know, you're putting the focus on me. You know, it's a way of, these kinds of questions are a way to get access to people. They're ways to control people. It's a way of, it's a passive aggressive way of devaluing somebody. Because here I am, you know, putting myself up here as a teacher and you're wanting me to psychoanalyze, you know, my limitations for you. It sounds like you're saying that I have resentments. You know, how do you feel about resentment and what do you think you resent? I mean, it sounds like what, you know, like a therapist trying to analyze me. So I don't know why you're asking. If you have resentments and you want to ask me how you can get over your resentments, then talk about you. I mean, are you aware how passive aggressive that looks, what you're doing? Maybe you're not aware of that. Maybe I'm not understanding you. Hector Lima, that's not a question. Tori F, I find this boring and I'm falling asleep. Well, then here's what we're going to do. See, I was right. Wasn't I right? She was passive aggressive, and then she turned around and said she resented me. I find this boring, so we're going to block her. We don't put up with abuse on my channel. That's abusive, so this person doesn't get to come back and ever talk to us again. All right, so we say goodbye to her. And now we, each word, each line, that's not a question. If you have a question, write the word question. And again, each word, welcome to the channel. For the 3rd time in this live stream, I don't talk about other teachers. I don't talk about other practices. Ask me about what I teach. If you don't know what I teach, then watch some of the videos, put some time in it so that you can then ask intelligent questions about what I teach. Again, you don't walk into a philosophy class and ask about the mathematics exam. So don't walk into my classroom asking about somebody else. Poopy question, how does a person get out of their head and into their heart? One way is to do this. Go to thunderwizard.com, click on the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, and you subscribe, and then you go to the video and you click play and you follow my directions. or you do the things I've already given you. I gave you the Awakening the Immortals. I've given you all the Qigong practices. That's how you do. And what I teach is you do the energy work. Fem sample CG, honest feeling. I keep assuming if my best friend is angry with me from time to time out of nowhere, I keep telling myself that it's all assumptions and I'm trying to do critical thinking. What is that? I keep assuming if my best friend is angry with me. Well, is he angry with you? Has he told you he's angry with you? I mean, if I'm honest, Fem sample, this sounds like extreme codependence. You're worried about what somebody else might be thinking and you don't even know if they're thinking it or not. It sounds like somebody who needs to go to a therapist. You know, we're bordering on neurosis here. Worrying about what you think somebody might be thinking and feeling about you. That's really neurotic. So you don't know. I would instead of assuming if he's angry with you, why don't you ask him, are you mad at me? And then maybe he'll say yes, or maybe he'll go, no, I wasn't even thinking about you. What makes you think I was angry with you? But that's not an assumption. So that's a little bit different. An assumption, I mean, it is an assumption, but it's really, an assumption has to do with how the world works, kind of thing. I assume gravity exists. Assuming somebody's angry with you isn't the same as being afraid that somebody might be angry with you. It's a whole different thing. So anyway, I would get some help on that. So now I know what you mean by overthinking. You have some, look, you got some emotional issues. You've got some unresolved codependence. So you're going to have to learn how to let people be themselves. Somewhere in your childhood, you were given the message that it's your job to figure out what other people are thinking and then act in a way that they're going to want. So your mother, your father, somebody was not very good at allowing you to have your own feelings. You were probably shamed out of your feelings as a little kid, so you felt, I'm not allowed to have my feelings, but I have to know what theirs are, and I better figure it out. And you never knew where you stood with them. They would get angry with you for no reason, or they would love you and you didn't know what you did to get that, and they'd get angry with you and you didn't know what you did, right? That's what creates that kind of neurosis. What else? What parts of Costa Rica do you recommend me moving to? I don't have a recommendation on where to go. I'm going specifically to a town that is known for its surfing. So if you were a surfer, I would recommend probably 2 or 3 different places to go. But I don't know what you want. There's a whole country there. There's mountains, there's beaches, there's forests. So I don't know what you're looking for. I can't recommend it. I would recommend, going online and looking at it and see what's where, what, where, how, who, what. Question, this is Riho Rasta, why do you have the microcosmic orbit in reverse direction in celestial Qigong? Why? One, the normal path, which is up the back and down the front. That is the fire path, and that is the path of Jing to Qi to Shen. The water path, which is up the front and down the back, which is what I teach, is the Qi to Shi to Yi path. So they both do great things, and one of them is more physical and one of them is a little more esoteric and spiritual. So why, a better question might be which one works best for you. Each word, each line question. I do not understand when you talk about controlling our inner Fenris by subtlety. Could you please elaborate what exactly is meant by being subtle? I mean, how to act subtle. So each word, each line, each page, that last word should be an adverb. I mean, how to act subtly. If you're going to have that name, each word, each line, each page. How to act with subtlety. Fenris is your base desires, so let's just take sex. If you try and eliminate the sexual desire through religious intolerance of yourself, by dogma, by saying I cannot ever have sex, sex is evil, in fact I cannot masturbate, I can do nothing sexual, I can't even have any sexual thoughts. So that's trying to bind Fenris with a chain, and Fenris will pop that open. And what happens with religious people? Religious people are the most sexually perverted people. Those are the people, like in the last video I did, I talked about, who was that evangelist? Jimmy Swaggart, who used to preach on and on about the evils of sex and extramarital sex and pornography. And what was he doing? He was caught with a prostitute, and he was constantly asking the prostitute to bring her 9-year-old daughter to their sex sessions. It's because he tried to use power. He tried to suppress his Fenris, his sexual energy, and exploded in all kinds of ways. So subtlety would be, wow, I'm a really sexual person, and I feel a lot of sexual drive, and wow, that woman is really beautiful. And you know what? It is totally okay that I just lust for that woman like crazy. It's not appropriate. She's got a boyfriend. I can see her talking to her boyfriend. It would be really inappropriate for me to do anything, but I am going to let myself have that feeling. I'm not going to try and do anything about it, and I'm going to act with subtlety. And when they walk over to me and ask me for directions, I will look the boyfriend directly in the eyes, and I will look at her, and I will talk to him with respect, and I will not act out on my selfish desires. But I will not try and hold my, try and guilt myself out of these feelings. Meditation. This is the answer to the reason why Tyr, which is the highest awareness, how Tyr is able to bind up Fenris with the rope of subtlety. It means that through awareness with meditation, you get distance. And then those desires don't have the ability to force you to do things. The devil made me do it. So meditation is one way. Riho.thunderwizard.com. He is also one of my certified apprentices. You can go to his website. He's got a bunch of other stuff that he does as well, if you want to go check him out. FemSample CG response. Why are you giving me a response? Did I ask for one? I don't need a response. Okay, what else? Leslie O'Neill question. Is shifting consciousness completely dependent on raising your body's vibration through a physical practice? Can a person achieve this through spiritual awareness and understanding alone? That's really your question. Your question is, Mahadeva, I don't want to do the physical thing. Can I do something else instead? To which I say, don't ask me about things I don't know. I can only share from my experience. If you want to go to somebody else's website or YouTube where they're going to help you raise your awareness through a thought or through an action, that's where you should go. There's all different types of yoga. There's Kundalini yoga, there's Bhakti yoga, there's yoga that's service. So a yogi isn't somebody who sits in, posture and does breathing and, Kachari mudra. A yogi is somebody who seeks union. And if you go to a real yoga master, they'll give you an option. They'll say, your yoga is to be of service. So the way that you raise your Kundalini is you go to the homeless kitchen and you bring food and you give soup to the homeless. That is your way of raising your Kundalini. So to answer your question, no, but it kind of bothers me that you ask that, because what I hear in your question is, I don't want to do the physical work. Is there some other way I can do it? And this is I only know what I know. And I guess I get responsive to that because what I hear in that is resistance. And I get very bristly when I experience people's resistance. And again, the best way to ask your question is to go find somebody who says, I know a way to raise your vibration through thought alone. And you could say, yeah, this other guy over here says he teaches these practices that do it. So you're telling me I can just do it with my thoughts? Instead of coming to me and asking me, so I know that the only way that you know how to teach is through your experience. Can you teach me a way of doing it that doesn't fit with your understanding and your experience? And the answer is no, I only know my experience. If you want me to help you, I'll tell you how I did it. And then you can try for yourself and see if that's what you want to do. But again, my response is that why are you so resistant to it? Why do you want to talk yourself out of it without even trying? That's what makes me go like that. And that's my limitation. Impetus correspondent question, is there any relation between the lightning qigong or heart mind and Lord Hanuman? Well, of course. I mean, Hanuman is the heart. So what are you asking me? Are you asking me if you chant to Hanuman, you'll get the Shin power? I don't know what you're asking me. Is there a correlation? Yes. What all the correlations are, I don't know. I would have to, chant to Lord Hanuman and ask him to show me all the connections. And chanting to Lord Hanuman is a very respectable and powerful thing to do. So maybe the answer to your question is, why don't you do a Hanuman mantra and ask him? Zerlath question, in context where a conflict in this Ragnarok, what is the difference between Fenris and Garm? Do you see Garm fighting Heimdall now? Yes, it's all happening right now. I haven't looked at, I've talked about Garm before, but what is Garm? Garm is the guardian to the unconscious. Garm is the guardian to hell, the underworld. So he fights Heimdall. I forgot who he fought. So Heimdall and Garm fight. Heimdall is also the crown chakra. Specifically, he's the energetic bridge to the crown chakra. So it means that your highest awareness fights with the guardian of the unconscious. So Garm stands as a guardian. He doesn't let anybody out. He lets people in, but he won't let you out. And so he represents our unconscious resistance. He also represents the need to keep things in the unconscious. Because if our unconscious all came out at one time, I mean, we would all be frothing, possessed nightmares. So Garm serves a function. So Ragnarok means all this stuff is falling apart, which means all of your unconscious garbage has to come out, which will destroy your limited experience of higher awareness. To get to the next level of awareness, everything has to be destroyed, including the things that are keeping things in balance now. That's my understanding, if I'm understanding and remembering the mythology correctly. You guys keep asking questions. I'm waiting for this to end so I can go eat because I'm starving. What else? Poopy. God, I really wish you'd change your name. Does any of your material teach how to deal with curses or spirit attachments? Why are you asking that question? Yes, I just got through talking about spirit fighting and lightning qigong and how it destroys entities. So go subscribe and do the lightning qigong. 30 saws also. I've taught you that. So you know that 30 saws, that Thor is a demon fighter. So you've already done stuff I've said. You use the 30 saws rune mantra. It only seems to help a little bit. And a few times it electrocuted me. So first off, you have an assumption that you have a curse or a spirit attachment. And as I said earlier, the vast majority of people who think they have curses or spirit attachments are people who are just fighting their own unconscious. They're so disconnected from their own unconscious feelings that they think their negative feelings are an evil spirit. So if you've done the 30 saws rune mantra and it helped a little bit, that's good. And if it electrocuted you, that's even better. And you also sound like somebody who needs some counseling. You got some serious unresolved unconscious issues. It's good, be good to talk it over with somebody. Question, in Ragnarok, how did Fenris's fetters fail? I don't remember. Yes, Shang Qing is Mao Shan is just another word for Shang Qing, Hector. Again, I taught all this many times. I talk about it in the teachings. So it's great that you did research, but you could have just, gotten the stuff from me and you could have heard me say that exact thing. But, you don't have to do it my way. So you asked me, just trying to clarify why I asked about the Shang Qing meditations. Well, you're asking about the Shang Qing meditations, and I'm telling you, I'm teaching them to you. What I'm teaching you is the Shang Qing tradition. You want to find out about the Shang Qing tradition? I'm teaching it. I'm a direct, lineage recipient from that energy. You can read about it all you want, or you can learn from me. It's up to you. Or somebody else. Maybe somebody else out there is teaching Shang Qing stuff. I don't know. What else? Nothing else? So the bottom line, Hector, is spend more time on my channel, because you're asking, this is what happens when people first get here, they ask all kinds of questions, and 99.9% of all of your questions are answered in the videos. I have over, 1,500 videos on the free channel. So really just binge watch those, go and look at the the little folders with all the stuff in it. I'm so hungry I can't think straight. Spend time on the channel, and then you'll get your questions answered, and then I won't be so annoyed when you ask me obvious questions that you haven't spent time to research. Research my channel. That's what it's there for. And then you'll know what I teach and what I don't, and the questions you have will be more intelligent, and I'll be more responsive to your questions. What else? Nothing else? That's it. All right, guys. I got to go eat. So you know the drill. Click on all the videos. Go to odyssey.com, ODYSEE.com, and look for me, Thunder Wizard, and subscribe. Subscribe over there and leave me a note saying I've subscribed. And if we get enough people over there, maybe I can get off of here and never have to censor myself ever again. But I'll stay here as long as I need to. All right, that's it. I got to go eat. I'm so hungry. Thanks, guys. Whoops, that's not what I need. I need this.